Members of the media and the public, secretariat, viewers, a very good morning to you all. Pleasure to welcome everyone, especially those that are watching this proceeding. At the outset, for information purpose, pursuant to Standing Orders of Parliament, specifically Standing Orders 111, all committee meetings are to be open to the public. Therefore, this submission meeting is open to the public and the media. However, for any sensitive information concerning this submission that cannot be disclosed in public, this can be provided to the committee either in private or in writing. But do note that this will only be allowed in a few specific circumstances, which include national security matters, third-party confidential information, personnel or human resource matters, and on committee deliberations. I wish to remind the honourable members and our invited submittees that all comments and questions are to be addressed through the chair. And for those viewers who are watching this live on Facebook, questions can be asked via comments, and only relevant questions may be considered by the committee, and we can ask it on your behalf. This is a parliamentary meeting, and all information gathered is covered under the Parliamentary Powers and Privileges Act and the Standing Orders of Parliament. Please bear in mind that we do not condone slander of any sort, and any information brought before this committee should be based on facts. In terms of protocol of this committee meeting, please be advised that movement within the meeting room will be restricted. Please minimize the usage of mobile phones, and all mobile phones to be on silent mode while the meeting is in progress. And I would like to introduce the members of the Standing Committee on Foreign Affairs and Defense. To my right are the two members that are in attendance this morning, Honorable Vodea, and next to him is Honorable Rinesh Sharma. We also have in attendance the Secretariat, Susanna and Leslie, and Tatila on the other end is for Hansard. I'm William Poto, the Chair of the Foreign Affairs and Defense, and maybe you had appeared in a standing committee before, and it would have been the Standing Committee on Economic Affairs, I think. This is the Standing Committee on Foreign Affairs and Defense, and we were referred, your 2022 annual report in the last Parliament sitting. Now I would like to invite the Executive Chair to introduce your team, and please proceed with your submission.
Thank you, Chair. Of course, my name is already on the screen there. By virtue of my role as Permanent Secretary for Employment, I'm also the Executive Chair of the ACCF. And I'll ask my two colleagues to introduce themselves as well, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Chair and Honorable Members. My name is Thomas Kama, the Acting Deputy Secretary for OHS and Workers' Compensation Service. Thank you.
Good morning. Good morning, all. My name is Anjit Charan, and I'm the current accountant and officer in charge of Accident Compensation Commission, ICCF. Thanks.
Thank you, Chair. We have a very short presentation. Yes, I agree that we have done a presentation to the previous committee, but we're always happy to share this information because it's critical for the nation and for the people of Fiji, for them to understand and have a grasp on the functions of ACCF. So without further ado, I'll ask the Officer in Charge and Manager, Ajit, take us through the slides. And we are happy to take questions post-presentation. And we'll also invite some comments from my team as well to share with the committee. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. So basically, for ICCF, I would like to discuss in terms of topics, what does ICCF do, who can apply, exclusion, source of funding, summary of funding, government grant, financial statement, and summary of trend analysis and review of ICCF. So these are some topics that I'll go through this morning. So basically, what does ICCF do is basically from 1st January 2018, ICCF was established through ICCF Act 2017, which was passed in the Parliament. And the good part of this bill was that all the member of Parliament supported this bill to be effective from 1st January 2018, taking on board motor vehicle accident under no-fault scheme. So in terms of no-fault scheme, what we mean is that we will not look into anyone's fault, or who was the victim don't need to provide to prove burden of the fault and then achieve the compensation. Is basically on a no-fault basis. There is a handful of exclusion there, on which I will touch on later. And from 1st January 2019, we have taken on board employment and school accidents. This is the first time in history for school students to get compensated for any accident that is arising, that occurred during school hours, or any activity or event organized by the school committee. And from in terms of amount for death compensation, we compensate 75,000, and for injury compensation, the maximum amount that we can compensate under no-fault scheme is 150,000, but that depends on the permanent disability being awarded by the doctors. Like these doctors are the trained doctors who do the assessment and then provide a permanent disability percentage, and according to that, then we calculate the amount. And from the next topic would be like who can apply. So basically, all the injured patient by themselves, they can apply, or their representative, or any injured or deceased child, then the parent or legal guardian can apply. If any person can't make application by him or herself, then a legal appointed representative needs to apply. And in terms of death over 18, we need a probate or letter of administration. So for probate and letter of administration like this, this has been issued by the High Court. And then once we obtain that, then we proceed with the compensation payment. In terms of exclusion, there is a handful of exclusion that ICCF thinks that fits for this no-fault scheme, like so that the scheme is not been taken advantage of. So one of the exclusion is driving under the influence of alcohol or over the prescribed limit, or under the influence of drugs. In the second one is the failure or refusing to permit a blood test or a specimen of blood to be taken, or not holding a valid driving license for the vehicle that you are driving, and being convicted or omission that directly caused the accident. Any injury or death that did not directly arise from the accident, and if the owner of the vehicle failed to pay motor vehicle accident levy, and the self-injury or attempt suicide or successful suicide, we will not compensate those particular cases. Or if there is not an employment case, like if there has to be a employer-employee relationship, then we can compensate in terms of employment. And the next would be the summary of funding. So the summary of funding, basically, source of funding, basically, we receive motor vehicle accident levy that's been paid by the motor vehicle owners directly to LTA as a one-stop shop. And then from there, LTA transfer the funds to ICCF account. And the other source of funding is that currently we're receiving 40% of 1% of the FNU levy collected by Grants and Levies Department of the FNU, which then they transfer to ICCF on a 6-monthly basis. And there's the current collections are somewhere close to approximately 9.4 million for year 2022. And for us, for our operational activities, we receive government grant on budget announcement. For this, we receive these funds from Ministry of Finance, and then for the purpose of meeting ACCF operational, contractual, or legal obligations. And for this, we do prepare the financial statement, and that gets audited by the Office of Auditor General, and then we do present the annual report. So that's for the government grant. And in terms of summary of balance sheet, summary of profit and loss statement, basically it's in a nutshell that we did spend more than the grant that we received, approximately 228,000, which was a saving from previous year. And in terms of balance sheet, our total equity is still showing net worth of 15,000, like we still have a surplus of 15,000 for that year. And further to going the audit process in terms of with Office of Auditor General's team, we have managed to obtain a successful audit comments in terms of no adverse findings. Like there were initially there's some comments that they've been given, but we managed to negotiate and overcome that. In terms of the application received and paid, the table basically shows 4 years of numbers that we have received application and paid the paid compensation. And in due to COVID, basically what has happened here is that due to lockdowns, it was a bit difficult that we directly meet face to face. However, we did manage to take a digital option and then did the assessment and compensated the victims as at the most. And in terms of trend analysis on achievements, it shows that motor vehicle accident compensation is higher compared to employment accidents. The reason for that is that employment accident is either minor injuries or moderate injuries, whilst the motor vehicle accident injuries sustained in motor vehicle accident is severe injuries. Therefore, the compensation awarded is more compared to the employment. And in terms of trend analysis of achievement on application received and paid on yearly basis, in 2022, we tried to compensate a lot of applicants to help the impact on economy due to COVID-19, so that people do receive some funds to manage their day-to-day life. And in terms of review of ACCF, basically further to establishment of ACCF from 1st January 2018 and taking on board employment and school accidents in 2019, the challenges that we faced was that due to lockdown, we could not came into office. However, we tried to help the victims by having remote access, like we assisted from home, we worked from home, and then we tried to assist the victims. And the current stage of ACCF is that the review, ACCF is going under the review, and we're looking forward to employment in school accidents to be managed by Ministry of Employment in future. And we also trying to liaise with other stakeholders such as LTA to get the road safety functions on board, which the discussions are currently underway. And for the future outlook, we're trying our best to have the proactive arm and the reactive arm together to reduce the road accidents for future. At this stage, I understand there's still more than 50 fatalities on road this year. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Do you have any further comments from the team PS? Otherwise, we can go in. All right, okay. I now open the floor for questions from the members. We are also monitoring the Facebook page, and we see if there are some relevant questions that come from the members of the public. We will be able to share that with you. If I can just kick off the questioning part, and the first one is on the exclusion. So if a person is under the influence, driving a vehicle, hits another vehicle, and there's some that are injured on the vehicle, that was hit by the driver who was under the influence. Those that got injured on the other side are compensated, I take it, or and the driver, because he's under the influence, is not compensated if he's injured also. Can you just make that clarification? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for the question. So basically, if it were in the previous scheme, the insurance company would have excluded everyone because of the driver was drunk, and then it's one of their exclusion. If the driver is drunk, then that policy is null and void. But with ICCF, that's the advantage that we have seen further to this establishment of this commission, is that only the driver will be excluded. Any other member that was involved in the accident, either the other driver, the passengers, pedestrian, anyone, will be compensated. Thank you, Chair.
All right, thank you. Members, do you have any question?
Chair, if I can just add to that, I think just for clarity, the driver that Jit is referring to is the driver that was under influence of liquor during driving, and again, it's also a no-go because it's normal for people to be charged if they drink driving, but for those that were injured during the process, they're the ones that get compensated. Thank you, Chair.
Sorry, Chair. Just on the same, the exclusions, being convicted for any act or omission that directly caused the accident. I just need some more elaboration on this. Being convicted for any act or omission that directly caused the accident. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, through Chair. Basically, being convicted means that that particular person is being charged by the police, and the case been gone through the court. The magistrate or the judge make a decision, and then if the judge or the magistrate finds him at fault, and there will be a sentencing done. So that's the conviction. And and the other one is that in terms of the action. That's that like you deliberately decided to have that situation, like causing an accident to achieve compensation. So if we manage to find out that, then we'll not compensate. Like that's trying to misuse the scheme, basically.
So that means they won't be entitled for any compensation if they are convicted.
Yes.
Thank you.
Through Chair.
Thank you, gentlemen. Chair, through you, question is on exclusion. You know, when you give people a smartphone, they get creative and sometimes end up doing the dumbest things ever for likes, views, and entertainment. There's a video that has gone viral in Fiji and so much of social media pages where a guy is driving a car with, I think, about 4 people in it, has a girl on his lap, and has his hands off the steering wheel. Now, this is careless driving, puts pedestrians and other drivers at risk, and we highly condemn this. So, since someone who drinks and drive will obviously get charged and other things follow, should members or people who do these careless things should be compensated if they get into an accident? And what are your views and thoughts on this?
Thank you, Honorable Member, and through you, Chair. So basically, the enforcement team, such as traffic police and LTA, do their due diligence and do charge them in the situation. And once that particular driver is being charged or convicted, then he'll be basically omitted from any compensation. But the others who were part of that vehicle will be still entitled for compensation.
Chair, if I may, can I just contribute as well? I think there's the use of phone. I think it's become a generic thing all over the world. The drink driving is one. The use of phone while driving, because it's a hazard, and the risk it poses on the driver himself and the passengers and the other pedestrians and passengers, is something that even our police law, but we have not really enforced that to that extent. But I think from memory, you cannot be using your phone and driving at the same time. I think in Australia, New Zealand, I think Fiji, yes, but I think we need to be more stringent around the application. Yeah, I think that that probably answers your question as well. Thank you.
Thank you. If I can just talk about backlog in ACCF. Do you have a backlog of applications that needs to be dealt with for now?
Thank you, Chair. Through Chair. So basically, it's a good question in terms of backlog. So we do not have backlog in terms of backlog. Basically, that there's a file that needs to be processed, but we cannot process it. But for us, there's a time frame for doctors to do the assessment after 18 months. So that file gets held till 18 months till the doctors does the final assessment, and then once we obtain the percentage, then it takes at least a month or a month and a half to complete the process. So basically, as soon as we receive the percentage from the doctors, we try to compensate them within at least within 2 months, less than 2 months. But there are files approximately close to 400 files that's going through that process. The doctors needs to do the assessment, and then we can compensate them. And for that case, as soon as we receive probate or letter of administration from the High Court, we do compensate them.
And the doctors that they go to, can they go to any doctor? Are there certain doctors that do this assessment for you?
Thank you, Chair. The doctors that conduct assessment are doctors that are certified. I have gone through the impact assessment training and are certified to do so. At the moment, there are around 180 doctors in Fiji that conduct those type of assessment. Thank you, Chair.
And are they publicly listed somewhere so that the members of the public know these doctors who they can go to make that assessment? Or is it you, when they apply, then you direct them to these doctors? Is that the way it happens?
Thank you, Chair. So basically, upon receiving the completed application form and then meeting the 18 months time frame, then we look forward to the doctors. We put forward the names to doctors, and once the doctors give us the appointment date, then we advise the applicants to visit those particular doctors, and then the doctors do the assessment. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. I just move on to this Ministry of Labour and ACCF. Initially, when ACCF was established, they were a little bit standalone in a sense from the Ministry of Labour. I know the Ministry of Labour does some assessment on compensation also. And okay, ACCF looks at compensation on a no-fault basis. Can you just please explain the difference between what happens at ACCF and what happens at the Ministry of Labour, given we have the PS here, the members of the public are also listening, just for information. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for the question. I think as alluded to by my colleague, ACCF was established in 2017 for the purpose of motor vehicle accidents. Later in 2018, the law was amended to include employment in schools. Thus, the transfer of cases from the ministry to the ACCF to process employment and schools accidents. However, there were some cases that were still processed within the ministry, and these are repealed under processed under a repealed act, giving the ministry 6 years because of the time bar period that is allowed for one case. So that will expire come December 2024. So the ministry have been from this year, from 1st June this year, there's been a policy shift. The ACCF board had made a decision to transfer all the cases from ACCF back to the ministry, and these are employment and schools cases.
Sorry, so,
Employment and school accident cases.
okay, those were initially transferred from labor to ACCF for them to process.
Process.
Now it is moved back to labor.
Yes.
Yeah? Okay.
So around 11,100 cases were transferred back. So this is in relation to the question you raised earlier in terms of the pending cases. And then there were around 12,000 cases that were also transferred that the ministry need to sort out in terms of which status they were at, so that we can continue the momentum to process them. Whether the investigation have been done, or they have gone through the medical assessment, or they've been given medical opinion, or they are ready for payment at the payment stage. So these are the 12,000 cases we have also inherited at the ministry, and we are at the moment sorting out those cases. But apart from the 1,101 cases that were transferred to the ministry has resolved around 421 cases to date. And these are 394 injury cases and 27 death cases so far this year. And through the budget allocation provided by the government, the 6 million budget allocation for processing of workers' compensation for accident that happened in school and also at the workplaces. Thank you, Chair.
One question on this particular field of employment, fishermen. Okay, if they are on a fishing boat, big fishing boat, they get involved in an accident. Are they entitled to compensation, or they just have to go through the workers' compensation side?
Thank you, Chair. Basically, because fishing vessels are such that this both type of arrangements are done. Like there is one contract for service and one is contract of service. So, like if the fishermen are doing the fishing and then providing to a company for contract for service, like they just give amount to be paid. That's contract for service. So in that situation, they may be excluded, but it's a contract of service. Like if they are the employees of the fishing company, and they do go out fishing and they got injured or passed away in an accident, then we'll compensate them because they were the employee of this fishing company.
Okay. If there are some that have a license to go fishing locally, say from Bah, they have a lot of fishermen from Bah. They have a license to go to fish commercially on that small, the wooden ones. I'm not talking about the big fishing vessels. And he employs a few people to go and fish for him. And say they hit bad weather, one of them is falls overboard, for example, and he couldn't find him. So are they? Where do they go to the family? Go to for compensation? Is it ACCF, or they just go to the Ministry of Labour, or they are not entitled to any compensation at all?
Thank you, Chair, for the question. So, in terms of testing the relationship of being employee and employee relationship, like one of the mechanisms that we test is that the employer needs to deduct FNPF and contribute to the FNPF, the payment FNPF deduction, and the other one is the PAYE that needs to be deducted if it's as per the regulation. And the third one is that the employer needs to pay FNU levy to FNU grants and levies department, like 1%. So if the licensed fishermen do organize all those for their employees or the members, they go out fishing, then they will be entitled for those members. But if those are not being conducted, so we take it as a contract for service, and they may visit the Ministry of Employment or any other authority to seek further assistance from there. Thank you,
Chair,
Chair.
if I may, just for clarity. I think the principle is around the relationship. When you're talking about the employer and the employee, it's a contract of service, and that's a test of people or victims that qualify to be compensated. When it's a contract for service, then that's where the omission kicks in. I think that's the distinction between who should be compensated and who should not be compensated.
Sorry, honorable members, I'm holding this mic. Ministry of Labor and ACCF again, that relationship. Is there an overlap in the job that ACCF does and the Ministry of Labor? Or are you happy with the relationship? Well, the relationship between processing all these claims right now.
I'll start off, and then DS will contribute. I think from the outset, I think we are mindful of that, and this is why the new board that was appointed was given the task to review the functions of ACCF and to identify whether there were some overlaps or not. While the setup in 2017 was for a motor vehicle accident, when the workmen's compensation shifted to ACCF, we were still doing some administration, prosecution, inspector jobs. So yes, I can say that there were overlaps. So what the new board was tasked to do was to review that and see how it can be reorganized for fit for purpose. And this is why we had recommended to Cabinet to move the functions of the compensation, workmen's compensation schools back to the ministry, because we were still doing most of the functions. Now, Veritas, the company that was set up under ACCF, was doing that administrative work. And safe to say, I think through observation and from experience, the ministry was still processing the accident workmen's compensation much faster, but smaller quantum compared to ACCF's accident workmen's compensation. So I think the test will verify that in the short time, when August, the payment we start paying in September after the budget, we have paid over 400. So one of the dilemmas that the citizens have was a delayed in payments to this compensation. So we can testify that when we've taken over this in the last couple of months, the processing time was faster in terms of justice to the people who needs to be compensated. So that ACCF now is left with the accident. That's the proposal that we're working on right now. So again, that was part of the review that the new board was tasked. We've finalized the report that has been submitted to the Honorable Prime Minister and the Minister for Justice. But I will ask DS to elaborate further. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Maybe to add, we have Veritas. ACCF was engaging a claims agent called Veritas, and they were doing processing for them. In fact, they were receiving cases, registering cases, and they were doing processing on behalf of ACCF. And then they would bring back to ACCF the claim calculation, and then later on the Ministry of Finance to pay out. So I think the shift, as highlighted by the Permanent Secretary, Executive Chair, from June 1, the cases are now, because we've taken over the role, Ministry have taken over the role from Veritas. And for your information, Veritas was paid 900,000 every year to be doing this role. 900,000 from through budget. And then Ministry have taken over the role from Veritas, so the Ministry is now registering the cases, Ministry is now investigating the cases, and also at the moment they are now only, the Ministry is on the claims, are now given to ACF to do the claims, and then back to the Ministry to do the payout. So this is the current system we are doing now. It's much faster, it streamlines the process, and I think I've highlighted the turnaround time in terms of the settlement to date. It's been around 421 cases that have been settled. The ministry were given around 6 million in terms of budget. We've utilized around 2.7 million to date, just from August to date. It's around 47% utilization. Thank you, Chair.
And in the process, saving that $900,000 a year that is paid to Veritas. All right, okay.
Chair, through you, now that the ministry is taking over again the processment of the workmen's compensation, my question is only the staffs at the ministry, are they well trained to look after this the new roles that they are taking? I know that you used to be with the ministry before, taken over by SCCF, now back to the ministry. The question is on the know-how of the role. I've heard that the turnaround time is much faster. Like any other roles that the ministry plays, OHS, people are well trained to undertake those tasks. In terms of workmen's compensation, are they well trained to carry out these tasks?
Thank you, Honorable Member, and through Chair. Yes, the staffs are trained, very competent. Before the shift, the ministry had continued to process compensation under the fault-based scheme. So this is a process the ministry has been doing over the years, since 1965, under the old Compensation Act. There are standard operating procedures that has been formulated to cover the different types of accidents. These are employment and also schools. And we have SOPs for injury, SOPs for death, including occupational disease, in terms of the processing. So it's the staffs are competent, been trained to do that role. Thank you.
Chair, through you, just two questions for clarity for the general public. One, if the FNU levy is compulsory by every business to pay, and the second is more of a business directly to the other role you play, sir. Is it compulsory for a business upon closure to write to the PS of Ministry of Employment and inform? Just to clarity on that. Thank you.
Yes, Chairman. Thank you.
I can have a follow-up question. So what happens to the businesses that do not pay the FNU levy?
There's an act, the FNU levy act. I think that's the task to operationalize that. And there's some penalties that is awarded, so that they are compliant. So again, that's something that the act sits with the FNU, NTPC. So NTPC is an organization within FNU that does the collection. You remember of the past, we used to have FNTC, okay? And then became TPF, that they used to do the collection. So NTPC sits within FNU that plays that role now, right, to do the collections.
Thank you. Maybe one more question, and then we will finish off, if there's any from...
Chair, this is from the annual report 2022. If you have a copy with you on page 5, I just found some disconnections between some of on the second paragraph of page 5. So between 1st August 2021 to this 1st July 2022, ACCF received a total of 840 applications, out of which 335 being for motor vehicle accidents, 472 for employment accidents, and 33 for school accidents. But the last sentence of this paragraph, as of 31st July 2022, the total compensation paid under the scheme was approximately 34.85 million to more than 1,700 recipients. There's a little bit of disconnection between the, or some elaboration on the.
Thank you, Member of Parliament, and through Chair. So basically, the last sentence is reflecting from 1st January 2018 that the total applicants that yes from 2018, and the before that the paragraph begins for only specific 21 for that financial period, but just to give the update in terms of total collection till the scheme was established.
Thank you. I got it. Naka.
Yeah, I just wanted to just probably put some affirmative around, how the scheme is. I think going back to Honorable Wade's question around the capabilities of staff managing this. I think during the novation of staff moving back, the work moving back to the ministry. As you know, some of the senior staff that continued to perform the compensation element within the ministry has over 20 years of experience doing the same thing. And we found that because of those capabilities, we were able to continue to dispense this work probably much better and more effectively, understanding the overlaps. And not only overlaps, as you rightly said, Chair, the huge amount of savings for government, the taxpayers, without duplication. And I think, to be fair also, and to be thankful for the work that Veritas have done with ACCF, we were open to absorb some of the staff that was available. We made that offer, and then we created 11 positions within the ministry, and that was in the budget for the current budget. So again, when you talk about capabilities, I think the ministry is very much capable. And as a testament, you can see in the number of cases that we have processed. And it doesn't stop there. It's only taken us about 3 months post-budget to process that 400 and something cases. And I think by March we forecast we will exhaust the 6 million that was awarded to us in terms of compensation. Again, you might not stop hearing this because you might be coming back and say, look, people are still asking for compensation, and we want to do justice to those that deserve to be compensated. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Executive Chair and the team. One maybe last question from me. The way it is for ACCF, is there something that you would want to change right now to make it better? Or are you happy with the way things are? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. That's a very good, and I think you nailed that. It's a good question. Part of the review and the reorganization that we are doing, I think it's emanated from how we want to provide a better service to the people of Fiji under this scheme. And one of the principles that we look at is the family care bill, and then the work care bill that we want to bring through the process, through cabinet, and then to Parliament, because it's very important for us. Now, if you will understand, honourable members and chair, that this levy that the workers, employers, it's a levy that belongs to the employers. Remember the FNTC and the TPF days, that the 1% belongs to the employer. It doesn't belong to government. That money is paid by the employer so that their workers can benefit in terms of training, hands-on training. We've been complaining about workforce shortages. Employers been crying out because there's a lack of training. Employers been saying that our laborers have been taken overseas through the PAM, and I can say this very safely, that under the PAM scheme, only unemployed workers go. We have stopped employers from going to post-COVID because we understand that it's supposed to be for the unemployed, unskilled or semi-skilled. Those that are migrating because of skill, they go on their own. And there's a very small percentage, we're talking about nurses or teachers, only about 13 and 15 respectively, that have gone on our scheme. The rest have gone on their own. But going back to my point, our review of what we're doing now, that we can do better, is around the work care bill, and also to give back something that has been a miss for many, many years, because the employers need to train their workers. If we need to replenish our workforce, then we have to do justice, because that money actually belongs to the employers, the 1%. And the ministry is of the view that we don't want to overburden every single employer that's paying levy in this country. We can manage from the 1%, and that's why we have divided in all this distribution, so that the employer will still get what they deserve in terms of the share, and the compensation component will still be more effective. I'll ask Tom to just to contribute. Yes? Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, yes, and thank you, Chair. From the levy that I think has been elaborated by PS, we are proposing that the status quo remains, that 0.4% of the 1% fully comes and be redirected for the purpose of compensation, and the remainder of the 1%, which is 0.6%, for the other purposes as highlighted by PS. So the 1%, the 0.4% is around 9.2 million a year. This would be sustainable for processing compensation, noting that the maximum payout was around 6.5 million in 2022. So from our analysis, we have also noted that it would be sustainable to pay out and process compensation cases that are currently pending, and those that we have to sort and process as well. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Thank you, honorable members, and thank you, sirs, for availing yourself to come in and speak with us this morning. I hope the members of the public who are listening will also gain a little bit of more knowledge on the work of ACCF, and perhaps answer some of the questions that they have. If I may, on behalf of the committee, thank you so much. Thank you for the work that you do, both at the Commission and and the Ministry of Labour. We wish you all the best. Thank you for the submission of your 2022 report. We look forward to the 2023 one, and may go to the Economic Affairs Committee instead of us, but we are honored to be able to deal with this, your 2022 report. And thank you, and I wish you the best. Thank you, honorable members. This meeting is now closed.